and to give you some small recap actually of what we have been doing in a webinar number 1 month ago. So Dora, please, the floor is yours.
Hello, thank you, Boyana. Thank you all. It's a great pleasure having you all with us. I'm Dora Katsamori and I'm a member of AIEdu project on behalf of the National Centre for Scientific Research Demokritos. And AIEdu project is a European funded project which aims to encourage development of new approaches and teaching practices in education by focuses on the impact of AI. So we aim to two specific objectives. The first is the research in the field of AI and education, and the second one is to raise awareness regarding the use of AI in citizenship education. So part of the AIEdu project implementation is the design and implementation of a series of webinars. Some weeks ago, we have already provided the first one, which was, let's say, a short introduction to the field of AI and education. And today we have the second one. So we have all agreed that the use of AI system in education is now a reality. And although there is still no institutionalized reference framework for their implementation, the use of AI system can be achieved in a variety of ways and for different purposes in education, such as the design of lesson plans, or the creation of educational materials according to the students' performance, as well as their assessment. So today, what we would like to do is to give a deeper, let's say, to go to a deeper discussion about a specific, the field of teaching with AI. And we're very pleased to have with us very great speakers, great researchers in the field who will aim to present their own research on the integration of AI tools in the educational process through concrete examples. So thank you so much, and we're very looking forward to listening to your presentations.
Thank you, Dora. As you see here, we have the agenda. We are booked for 90 minutes, and we hope that this 90 minutes actually we are sure that it won't be enough time to get all the overview, what is how and how to teach with AI, because we know it's there. And we have here a great panelists and presenters who are coming from a different field. We have someone from the research, we have someone from the academia, but also we have teachers who are dealing with the AI in the classrooms every day. And I think all these presentations together will give us a quite good overview, actually, how to better understand the potential, but also the challenges of teaching with AI. Our first panelist and speaker is Professor Oge. He is assistant professor in the Department of Information and Computing Sciences at Utrecht University, the Netherlands. Professor Oge actually specialized in human-centered explainable AI and specifically studies how transparency and control can support decision-making in different application domains. So Professor Oge is having a good presentation for us. So please, the floor is yours. You have 15 minutes. And after that, we will give a chance for the participants to ask a question. If you want to comment before that, please use the chat box on the Zoom, and I will read your question or give a floor to you after the presentation. So Professor Oge, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation, and also thank you to everyone who is attending. I'm excited to talk about transparency and control for AI systems and education. And as you've just heard, as a quick introduction, I have a mixed background, both in fundamental mathematics and applied informatics and computer science. And I'm now an assistant professor in Utrecht University. My research focuses on human-centered explainable AI, particularly in education. And so that is why I'm here talking today. And I would like to present the idea of human-centered explainable AI with some examples of my own research. To do that, I will remind you that AI models are like some kind of coffee machines where you put something in and then some magic happens and then something comes out. So we all know this, and there is plenty of these kind of coffee machines who all have their specific task. So AI models can, for example, recommend an exercise based on a bunch of available exercises. When you feed them a learner profile, some AI models can predict, for example, whether someone is at risk. And others, for example, take textual prompts to generate exam questions. So this is all exciting, and you know that this holds a lot of promises for education. But typically these models are black boxes. So what I mean by that is that either the models themselves are very complicated, or they are not transparent for end users because, for example, they lack AI expertise. And this brings us to the first challenge that I want to cover here is how can we explain these black boxes? That doesn't mean that we're going into all the technical details. It means that we want to provide some insights in specific aspects of how these models behave. So we can do that in a lot of ways. There's actually a lot of algorithmic explainability techniques that either focus on the model itself or on the data. And we can classify a bunch of these methods, but I won't cover all these in detail. Just some examples are, for example, we can simplify a model with simpler models that we can understand better. We can look at feature relevance, like which features have a high impact on the outcome. And we can also do a sensitivity analysis, which means how sensitive is the model under changes. So in education, some examples here are feature relevance. Let's say we have a model that checks whether someone is at risk. Here you see, for example, the risk score is being affected by the last login a lot. Last login was 10 days ago, so that's why the model thinks that the student is at risk. Other approaches involve visualizations. A very well-known example here in education are open learner models. So these models assess someone's skills. And by visualizing all these different assessments, we can kind of get an insight in what the model thinks of a specific student. So as I said, there's a bunch of algorithmic explainability techniques here. And this, of course, leads to the question, which explanation technique should we then use? Because, of course, there is a specific audience that we have, and they have a specific context. So which of these techniques should we use? And this is where the second part comes in. This is the human-centered explainability parts that I want to stress. And what this means is, okay, we have all these explainability techniques, that's great, but the target audience also has to understand them, and they also need the explanations that fulfill the needs that they have. So what human-centered explainability does is it acknowledges that different people and different contexts require different explainability solutions. So from a research perspective, the goal here is first, we design the explanations that are tailored to specific people and their contexts. And second, we also evaluate how these explanations then affect people's behavior. So that is pretty broad. With behavior, I mean, for example, whether people trust a model or understand a model. It can also be model independent. It can also be whether they are more motivated to do something, and in education where, for example, they learn more. So going back to the overall story from before, there's actually a second challenge here, a second question that we can ask. And that is, how can we control these model outputs? I mean, we have these models and they do something, but sometimes they don't align with our expectations or our domain expertise. For example, if there's a teacher looking at a model that says the student is at risk, maybe they disagree or they want to steer the model. And again, here there's a full spectrum of solutions going from teacher having full control to AI having full control. And of course, there's a lot of in-between solutions. For example, in the middle, we could have a situation where a teacher is monitoring the AI system, where the AI system is doing a lot of tasks automatically, but teachers can still intervene. And of course, this whole story now is focused on teachers, but we can say the same thing about other educational stakeholders. We can give control to students themselves, we can give control to parents, etc., etc. So this is the second big challenge that I want to tackle here. If we have control, what are then suitable control mechanisms and what do they actually look like? So the two main explanations and control challenges here, I will be giving you some examples from my own work with colleagues and former master students. And I also want to admit here, of course, this is just like the surface that we will scratch. These are just some examples from my own work, but there's thousands, 10,000s of researchers working on this. So this is just as a kind of inspiration of how we can translate explanations and control to an educational setting. I'll start with 3 examples on the top because all 3 are related to the same platform. This is a learning platform that I made myself in the past. It's a learning platform for middle and high school students to practice mathematics in a personalized way. So what that means is there is some kind of AI system. The system itself is actually a recommender system. Concretely, this means that the system takes into account the expertise level of students, and then it would recommend exercise series that are fit to that level. For example, if we have an expert in a specific topic, we'll give very hard exercises. When students are beginners, maybe we will better give easier exercises. So the first example is related to explanations. So how can we integrate explanations on this platform? To do that, we developed this very simple interface, which gives an explanation of why a specific exercise is being recommended. So as you can see, the interface says, okay, we recommend you this exercise because we think that your current level aligns with that of the exercise. And then we also suggest that in the background, the model is taking into account the number of attempts of similar students. So it says, for example, in this case, hey, this recommended exercise was solved by a bunch of other similar students and they needed 1 or 2 attempts. So we think you can do the same thing, and that's why we recommend it to you. So then I talked about, we also want to study the impact of explanations. We compared it with 2 other versions, one without explanations, one with fake explanations or placebo explanations. And what we found here is that these visual explanations actually increase the initial trust of adolescents. But we also found at the same time that students were reporting pretty high trust for all interfaces. So the visual explanations can increase initial trust, great, but maybe it's not the most important factor for building it. Now let's have a look at the example about control. So here we made an interface that was being shown after students solved an exercise and after they had the chance to give feedback to the system. So you see this very simple bar chart that shows the mastery changes. First, it shows a change before and after the series, whether they solved something correctly or incorrectly affects their mastery level, of course. And then they were able to give some control, exert some control by giving feedback to the system. I want harder exercises. And so in this case, the mastery level went up even further. So I'll just show you here in a very quick demo what it looked like. It's in Dutch, but I mean, you can just look at the pictures. You see that a student is solving an exercise, it's correct. And then it has this slider where it can choose for harder or easier exercises, it chooses harder exercises. And then they see this visualization that I showed you before. And as I said, first they solved it correctly, so the mastery went up. And then they said, oh, I want actually harder exercises. And the platform translates that to, okay, I will assess your mastery level as even higher. So again, what was the impact of giving this control and this explanation? Well, if we just gave control to students, what we found is that they reflected more upon their own mastery and also on the fact that there were recommendations in the first place on the platform. So that was pretty interesting. However, we didn't find any differences in initial trust. On the other hand, when we added this visual interface after the control mechanism that I showed you, we found again they reflected more on their mastery level recommendations, but this time also they reported higher trust in the platform, probably because they found the system more transparent because they could actually see what was happening and how the model was behaving. So perceived transparency went up and therefore also their initial trust. So in sum, by seeing the impact of a control, we can increase initial trust, but control mechanisms on themselves are maybe not necessarily enough. And then in the last example on this platform, actually we combined both ideas, so both control and explanations. Look like this. Again, it's in Dutch, but it's pretty simple to see. What is happening here, on the top, students can actually choose at the start which difficulty level they wanted. So the more to the right, the harder it was, and the more to the left, the easier it was. And you also see that there was an interactive visualization at the bottom that is changing while they are controlling the model here. This is a static figure of that explanation, because actually this visualization is a what-if explanation. What that means is it will show you how your mastery level is going to change if you solve the exercise correctly. So you choose, for example, a very difficult exercise, so a lot to the right. then of course you will see that you have a higher jump in mastery level. So your mastery level would go up very high. And what we found in this research, which is, by the way, still under review, but I just want to show it anyway, is that when students saw these what-if explanations, they were encouraged to try harder exercises. But on the other hand, they didn't report differences in initial trust or metacognition or motivation. And we also didn't see differences in performance, so in whether they were actually able to solve the exercises correctly. So that was it for the platform. I want to show you three examples in different contexts, so a lot briefer actually, just to show you that there's other options, of course. And the first one was a mobile application. So this was for smartphones. Students could just use this at home whenever they wanted to practice equation solving. So you see here that we again work with recommendations. Here are 4 recommended equations that you can try. And we gave students control in the sense that they could select one of those recommendations themselves. Now, on the other hand, you also see that there's these rewards. Now you see the coins activated, and you see that 2 of those exercises have a higher reward. So students could collect those rewards if they solve that exercise correctly. And so those higher rewards are actually a form of AI control that we gave. Those are the recommendations that the AI model thought were more appropriate. They were even better than the other ones. So you see that we are trying to balance learner control and AI control in this case with nudging students towards the most recommended exercises. Now, I've been talking a lot about students and what we can do to explain and control when students are involved, but the same can be asked for other educational stakeholders such as teachers. And this was a dashboard that we showed to teachers when students were actually practicing on the platform in class, and then they could follow whenever students were solving an exercise. So for every student, they saw a timeline that showed, okay, this exercise is being solved correctly or incorrectly. As you can see, also some students were highlighted. Those were the weaker students and the stronger students. So here we just visualize the data that is being used by the outlier detection model as a way to provide transparency for teachers so that I can check, okay, do I have to worry about the student, yes or no? And then the final example is also for teachers. It's a very simple dashboard, again in Dutch, but I'll translate, where the idea was that we want to generate multiple choice questions. So teachers can fill out a question with the correct answer, what's the capital of Florida, and then the answer. And then there's an AI model that will generate a lot of distractors. And those are the ones that you see, Miami, New York, Los Angeles, etc. And then we provided 2 things. We provided some transparency about, what is actually happening in the background. The model is taking into account 2 factors that we then visualize. One factor is about how similar the questions are and how similar the distractors are with regards to other questions in the database. And second, we also provided control to the teachers where they could change, for example, I want very accurate results or maybe less accurate results if it's about creativity, or I want to change these weights. Like, for example, the model is underperforming in a specific case. Give a bit more weight to the question, because the question is very important. Go and look for similar questions and then check which distractors are fit there. So that was it, just 6 examples from my previous work. I hope you found it inspiring just to see what is happening and what is possible regarding explanations and control in education. There's, of course, a lot more to unpack here. I've done a lot more as well. If you want to check out more details about what I've shown here, or if you want to see more research on human-centered explainable AI, check out my website, reach out to collaborate. There's like my full thesis text even, with hopefully an accessible first chapter with some background about human-centered explainable AI. And with that, I want to finish and thank you all for being here. And I'm very happy to just continue talking now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Uge. It was quite interesting. presentation, even for dummies like me. When I see the mathematics and the numbers, as a history professor, I immediately I'm lost. But actually, your presentation give a lot of food for thoughts for me. So before someone from the audience pose your question, I will give floor to myself. I have a control today. So I'm quite interested about the motivation of the students. Have you take that? Yes, the second presentation today will be by Vasilis Gatsis. The presentation is titled Distinguishing Apples from Oranges with Thales. Just a few information about Vasilis. Vasilis is an associate researcher on educational programs with Sci-Fi, Science for You, a quite cool and interesting organization with a lot of cool things that they are doing. But also, Vasilis is associate researcher on machine learning with National Centre for Scientific Research Demokritos from Greece. So, Vasilis, the floor is yours, and we are very much looking forward to hear from you how to distinguish apples from oranges.
So thank you very much. Thank you for having me here today. Give me a moment to share my screen. So I hope that you can see my screen now. So as you said, my name is Vasilis. I'm an associate researcher here in the NCSR Demokritos in machine learning subject. And I also collaborate with the non-for-profit organization Sci-Fi, which, as you said, stands for Science for You. And it does have lots of interesting projects and concentrates on democratizing AI and training all parts of our society to understand what AI is, and even better, what is not AI. So the project focus on all parts of our society, from individuals to enterprises and even governments. So I am going to present you this tool that we have made and we use in Sci-Fi, which is called Thales. Thales is this cute little robot that you have on the upper right side of the screen. And what is it? It's actually just a simple educational way of education. Okay, it uses machine learning and it learns to distinguish apples from oranges. Okay, so the main goal of the app is to train individuals on very basic stuff. We've built this app using Vue and HTML, CSS, and I think it's very important to say at this point that we do not collect any data, so it's very friendly to use. There's no concern on that part. So Thales mainly focuses on students of all ages, mainly junior high school and high school, but it's also suitable for use in younger students and also for individuals who don't know very much on the subject of AI. We have used it in lots of educational projects. Up until now, we have trained more than 5,000 people. And in general, the feedback that we get is that they got a really good grasp of what AI is and how do machine learn, which is what we primarily go to achieve, to teach individuals what the learning in machine learning is. The second goal of this app is to help humans understand how they can, how they are involved in the process of AI training and how their actions affect what our AI is right now and what it's going to be in the future. So, how does Thales learn? I'm going to explain the basics and then we're going to see a demo. So as you probably know, AI needs lots and lots of data to learn and to distinguish between things, or in a way to learn to take decisions. So in our case, we provide data of apples and oranges to Thales, along with their labels. So you will see in the demo that we have some images of apples and oranges, and also some characteristics. In the AI language, they are called features. It's important to note at this point that we use the images only for the humans to understand. The only thing that Thalys gets are the characteristics, the features. Okay, so we have, for example, an apple. We have its color, its weight, and whether it has a stem or not. And then we provide Thalys with a label, and we say, in this case, that is an apple. In the other case, that is an orange. But how does Thalys, what does Thalys learn, and how does he think? What you see here is what we call in AI a decision tree. And although it seems very simple, it's actually a very valid machine learning algorithm. Now, this form is really simple, but in real case scenarios, it would be much more complex. But the basic idea is the same. So relations are formed based on the characteristics that we have provided the AI with, and simple decisions are made. So, for example, at this point, based on the data with which Thalys has been trained, he thinks that if a color is red, then that's surely an apple. If it's not, then he checks whether there's a stem or not. If there is, he decides then that what he has been provided with is an orange. Else, he says that that's an apple. So, in order to train the recipients to pass our information, to explain to them how they learn, we have made Thalys make some predictions, okay? And the predictions that he makes differ from the level of training that he has gotten. So in the early stages, he finds it very difficult to recognize apples from oranges. But as we give more data, we explain how we saw that he does begin to understand better and provide the correct label each time that he's given a new data point. Okay, so it's quite important here to say that with this process, we always when we use this tool, we always spend a couple of minutes doing the training process in an inverse way. So we label apples as oranges and oranges as apples. And of course, what you imagine happens is that Thalys learns to categorize them in an inverse way. Okay, so let me show you a small so are you seeing my screen? Are you seeing maybe are you seeing the presentation or the demo?
The presentation.
Okay, sorry, give me a moment. I will change this immediately. Okay. So now we are on the app, and we will start. We are introduced to Thalys, and we will start training him. Well, in the beginning, Thalys hasn't been trained. We ask him, what is this? He cannot recognize it, of course. We give him the correct label, which is an apple. And then, using this button, we can check what kind of correlations has Thalys made about the features and the labels. And of course, the only thing that he knows exists in his world is apples. So we continue the training process. Of course, Thalys at its training process thinks that he can predict the correct label. It's very nice. It's a very nice example to try and ask him at every step. So now Thalys only knows that there are apples in his world. So he categorizes a lemon, an orange as an apple. We tell him no, Thalys, that is an orange. He says okay, and the correlations in his mind start to become more complex. This way, we can give more examples, more data points, and we try not to give the same kind. So We don't give only red apples, we also give golden apples and green apples, etc., etc. So we continue our training process, and Thalys keeps getting, well, let's say clever. So after some point, he will probably have made such relations in his mind that he will be able to predict correctly. So that's an orange. Let's say, what is this? If we ask him, he says that this is an apple, which is what we wanted to achieve. Perfect. And then we can move on. Of course, we can change our mind and change the label that we have provided for the specific data point. And as I said before, we will see that the relations that Thalys creates in his mind are completely dependent on what we have provided him with. So that's the end of the demo. A moment, I'm sorry. Perfect. So here I have provided you with a QR code if you want to find the app and play with it yourselves, and also with the path if you visit the site of Sci-Fi. Well, basically, that's it from me. I think that I can hear your questions now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vasilis. Actually, this is a totally new chapter. Now we are going into the process how machine is learning. So this is something that I believe it frightens most of us. So
yes, that's very true.
Yeah. Okay, I will give the floor now to participants. Do you have any questions for Vasilis? A pleasure here. Oksana Pasichnik, our dear colleague from Lviv, Ukraine. Oksana will present us AI curricula. And she will tackle actually how AI is having an impact on society, how it has an impact to our decision-making process. But just before she starts, just a very brief information about Oksana. She has been teaching computer science in Lyceum Siekivsky in Lviv, Ukraine for 20 years. Oksana is contributing to the work of European Wergeland Centre as an online learning consultant, developing and supporting online resources and courses. So here, Oksana will present a quite interesting development that she was doing for the Wergeland Centre the last year. So Oksana, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Bojana. Hello, everyone. Happy to share some words about curriculum, and actually it's been really interesting to see both presentations from our speakers. And Vasilis, I just wanted to share that I have been doing something similar with my students. We have been distinguishing cats and dogs, and large horses and small horses, which is also a fun exercise to do, and different fishes. And in the curriculum I'm going to present, we have been having an exercise to distinguish different kinds of pasta with primary school students, and they would manipulate the pasta in different ways to find ways to classify them and make little categories of those pasta. So it's really important to have this sense of understanding that data is the most important in this process. It is not just magic that is happening. It is actually the data, quite specific algorithms, and then you get the decisions or rather predictions from AI systems. So yeah, if Marianti could get us to the next slide. The point of my presentation today is the curriculum that was created by European Wergeland Centre and the organization called IRIM in Croatia. We had a huge project with them to create the curriculum in artificial intelligence for primary school students. And although you might wonder why it's only for primary school students, why are we talking about it now? Actually, I believe that this kind of curriculum is useful for any kind of user, because a teacher can use this curriculum to learn themselves. and to be prepared to teach this topic to young students, so that this curriculum contains general approaches and practical activities. It is actually written in a way that teacher can take this handbook, read it through, and be equipped to teach this kind of topics in their classroom with hands-on activities, practical activities for young students primarily. There is a lot of unplugged activities because for primary school students, it's important to have this hands-on experience. And when writing this curriculum, we have been thinking that teachers should first put masks on themselves and then help students who are nearby, like the announcement you hear on the planes. Because if you're not prepared yourself, it is really scary to dive into artificial intelligence with your students. So you have to be equipped, you have to be prepared, you have to be calm about what you are teaching and actually inspired by that. So this should be interesting, first of all, for you and also for your students as well. And we were hoping that it would promote teachers' AI literacy as well. We know that this year, like a couple of months ago, UNESCO has provided a new framework for teacher AI literacy. And I believe these are the first steps in this direction. Of course, it is going to be more diverse in the years to come. So if we dive into the activities of this curriculum, there is actually a lot because we have been trying to make it as diverse as possible. First of all, we are talking about what AI is and how you can find it in everyday applications. Because when you are using voice typing, or when you are using translation applications, or you are using Google Maps, for example, you are still using AI. It is already around you. And you have to understand that it's not possible to just shut yourself away from it and imagine you're going to have life without it in the future. Also, there are some exercises pretty similar to what you have been showing, Vasilis. Pasta sorting activity, when we are using actual pasta, and it's a very interesting conversation with students. What kind of pasta do you like? What kind of pasta is the correct kind of pasta? With primary school students, it's always, there is a correct and incorrect pasta to have on your plate. There is a quick draw activity in which you are drawing different images, and then you actually try to teach computer to recognize this or that image. Of course, the issue of bias is pretty complex for this age group, but still we are talking about it in terms of the data we are providing. If we are providing the biased data, if the data is garbage, as we say in computer science, you are getting garbage out. And if we are having problems with bias in artificial intelligence systems, probably it's because we humans have done something bad with the data in the past. Artificial intelligence is not discriminating women, is not discriminating children or any kind of race or religion or whatever. But it's our past actions that actually do that. And artificial intelligence is going to continue doing that if we don't change our behavior, if we don't actually get to see the wrong ways we are doing things. Also, we are trying to cover the subject of online learning, whether it's good or bad, and come to the conclusion that every action has a good or bad consequence. It's an issue of balance. It's an issue of trying to find balance in every technology, and specifically new technology. Because in the future, students are going to face a lot of new technologies. And actually learning how to deal with a new technology might be the point of learning artificial intelligence at all, because we are getting prepared to face any new technology that there might be in the future. So that's like the whole idea of our curriculum. And our activities are mainly, as I said, unplugged, based on conversations, based on something that we are discussing and debating in the classroom. And I totally believe that this is something teachers can use in order to get themselves prepared for these conversations with students, so that these conversations are practical, these conversations are interesting and thought-provoking, because this is what we would like to achieve in our classroom. If we could move to the next slide, please. Maybe we'll skip this slide because I have already covered that. Students are going to live in the world that is full of artificial intelligence, and these algorithms are going to influence their lives. So they'd better get prepared for that and be prepared to critically assess innovations through an ethical lens. They need to remember that there are always two sides to any kind of new technology, and they should be prepared to do that by themselves, even without teachers. So the next slide, please. Yes, thank you. We have been trying to align artificial intelligence topics with the current curriculum, for example, here in Ukraine, but I'm sure that the process is happening everywhere else, because we have the subject of computer science or informatics, as we call it. And it's not just about technical parts that are being covered when we are talking about artificial intelligence. It's about bias, it's about critical thinking, it's about critical evaluation of information, it's about building models, thinking about privacy, thinking about security. So it's all kind of issues. It's not just the programming or something very technical. But on the other hand, quite often when we talk about artificial intelligence, we just talk about a multitude of different apps that there are there. And on the next slide, actually, when we are talking about artificial intelligence in classrooms, we are pretty often scared of the amount of different options there is, and the fact that we need to learn all of them in order to use it in the classroom. And of course, it's not true. First of all, it's not possible. Second of all, it's not practical, and there is no point to think too much about the variety of these apps. What makes a point is actually thinking about why would you use these tools. And on the next slide, I would like to present a number of questions, a kind of checklist that we have prepared for our teachers here in Ukraine to consider when selecting an AI tool. Actually, last week, I had a chance to present this list for the organization that is called Teach AI. It's a global organization creating policy for artificial intelligence in classrooms. And this kind of list is way more productive than the list of specific tools that can be recommended to a teacher, because these tools change so dynamically. They lose functionality, they gain functionality, they become paid or they become free. It is really dynamic. But still, if a teacher is prepared to just think critically about why they are going to use this tool, how to think about all the tiny print there is in the user agreement, it will equip them with better understanding and better preparation to use these tools with their students. And on the last slide, I wanted to highlight that it's not only the technical questions we need to consider when selecting an AI tool, it's also pedagogical questions, and probably it would be right to have them on the first place. First of all, we need to ask ourselves, what are we going to achieve with this or that tool when we are trying to use them in the classroom? So the issue of teaching with artificial intelligence is actually pretty complex. It's not just about the specific tool and how to use this specific tool, whether it's ChatGPT or it's, I don't know, Midjourney to create images or any kind of tool. It's about being ready as a teacher, being confident, being confident that you can use this tool to the best of the ideas you have in your head for your lesson. So it corresponds to all the learning objectives. It corresponds to developing critical thinking of your students. And of course, it requires a teacher to be prepared themselves. You need to understand how it works in order to use it without fear. On that, I would like to stop my presentation, and maybe we have some questions to discuss.
Thank you, Oksana. Super interesting. I just would add one thing. It's lifelong learning for teachers, never ending. So absolutely, it requires some ethics and common sense, but also technical knowledge. Before I give a floor to the participants to ask a question, I will kindly ask Dora or Marianti just to put in the chat the link where this curricula can be downloaded from. It's free of charge, and we would definitely love to see that some of you is using it in your daily teaching. So, Chinska. Yes. Olha is also a teacher from Ukraine, and Olha is a computer science teacher in Lyceum, named after First Puluy in Lviv, again, Ukraine, and great to have you here with us. Olga has extensive experience in STEM education, doing multiple projects with her students. She is a scientist ambassador of the Community for Science Education in Europe. And in today's presentation, Olga will focus actually on tools for modern teaching. So I'm very keen to find out actually what the modern teacher is today. So Olga, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening, dear colleague. First of all, I want to thank you for inviting me to join as a speaker. And can I share my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Just a minute. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
We can see it.
Okay, thank you. I'm really proud and I can share my experience today. First of all, AI and education, a new opportunity. We are talking about the first task automation, personalized learning, and optimization of the learning process. What do you mean about task automation? Teacher can freeing up time to interact with student. The second is a creation of individual plans with help AI apps, different apps, and the third is optimization of the learning process, data analyst, and efficient use of resources. AI is the power of data and intelligent. I mean that it's a big data, automatic assessment, and it's for assessing and adaptation. If we talk about AI and education, artificial intelligence allows teacher to optimize many tasks from creating content to evaluating works. Also, AI helps automate teacher routine tasks, giving more time for time to interactive with student. Also, teachers are constantly looking for a new way to make learning more effective. How can AI can help a teacher? Is of course create personalized study plan, provide adapted task depending on the level of the student, and teacher can create can implement new new way of communicating with your student during the lesson with help different AI apps. For example, the updated properties of the Kahoot application, Kahoot with AI tools. How teacher use AI tools? How I use AI tools? For example, I often use GPT chat, and this presentation I create with JAMA apps. Idea in the slide was my, but I use this JAMA, and I saw that for me it was not so much time for create this presentation. And the second is the automation of assessment. Teacher use AI to check assessment and analyze results. This is, of course, saving time to more important research. For example, with communication with student, when I had online lesson, I can use different apps with AI. And of course, adaptation to the needs of children. Tools for creating content. What tools I used? Of course, ChatGPT, new Kahoot. Using the AI properties of Kahoot, we can create interactive quizzes and different games. Canva, this application with an AI application allows teacher to create visuals, different new visuals, and new the better presentation. Chat GPT, of course, and Quizlet. With the help of AI properties of Quizlet, teacher can create flashcards for learning different terms, especially suitable for learning, for example, foreign language. In Ukraine, it's Spain language or English language. Maybe next slide, because ChatGPT use it. It's a very how to say, it's very okay. I'm sorry. Okay, let's talk about Kahoot for interactive learning. As a teacher, I can create question, answer, and type of question for creating quizzes. Interactivity is video, different games, and graphics. Involvement of student is mean in increasing motivation and activity. I want to show two, for me, it was new apps, AI apps. It's apps to plugging checker, Turnitin, and Gradescope. It's apps with AI to automatic assessment. I recommended to use these apps. And about communication with student, as you know, Google Classroom and Microsoft Teams are two popular platforms for organizing learning and communication, and using an eye to improve communication between teacher and student through learning management platforms. And of course, AI integration help with automatic scoring, sending reminders, and personalized feedback. Of course, these tools allow teacher to easily manage assessment, interact with student, and provide instant feedback with student. They have built-in features for automatic grading and even for predicted student performance. And the last slide, I want to be talking about the future of AI in education. It's a resume. I think in the future, AI will allow the creation of global adaptive platforms for education that will be to personalize the learning process even for students with different levels of training. Personalized learning thanks to deep analysis of student data and increasing impact on global learning through adaptive system and access to free online resource. Thank you so much for your attention, and maybe
Thank you, Olga. Thank you, Olga. This was quite interesting, and we know that you just came from the classroom, so we really appreciate your willingness and time to join us.